Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Our mission here is, well, it's pretty simple. We take a stack of source material, the articles, the stats, the notes, and we dive deep to get to the tactical truth.
The goal is to make sure you walk away with that next level of understanding, the kind that really defines being well-informed.
Exactly. And today, we are absolutely dissecting a championship finale that, it stunned everyone. It turned what was supposed to be this heavyweight matchup into something the sources are calling a stunning knockout.
Yeah, and knockout is the right word. It was more than just a win. This was a clinical, just a comprehensive tactical demonstration.
How so?
We saw one team college impose its will so completely that the reigning champions, Raptors 2.0, they just had no answer. None. Their whole explosive offensive identity was just systematically dismantled.
That's the perfect setup for our analysis today. This was the B.A.L.L. Season 1 finale. The expectation, like you said, was a slugfest. College versus the historically high-scoring Raptors 2.0.
Right. Everyone was expecting fireworks, probably a high-scoring game.
But the final result was, well, a defensive masterpiece that completely rewrote the script.
And when you see terms like stunning knockout or defensive dismantling getting thrown around in reports about a championship game, you know the story isn't about offense. It's about suppression. Total suppression.
So that is our mission for this deep dive. We're going into all this material to find the specific, the repeatable tactics, the defensive schemes, and the individual performances that all came together to create this so-called masterpiece.
We need to know how.
Exactly. How did college force the Raptors to a catastrophic season-low score of just 39 points? How did they turn an expected nail-biter into really a historical anomaly?
And we're going beyond the box score here. We are looking for the blueprint, the actual game plan that allowed college to choke off every single offensive avenue the defending champs had. So yeah, let's unpack this thing. Let's really get into the mechanics behind the shock.
Okay, let's start where the shock factor is just. It's off the charts. The score. Team College defeats Raptors 2.0, final score of 57-39.
Right.
When you look at that, you might think you missed a quarter or something. It feels completely anachronistic for modern championship-level basketball.
It really does. That number itself, the final score, is a historical marker. It's going to stand for a long time. A winning team scoring in the high 50s in a full game is rare enough.
Yeah, that alone tells you it was a grinder.
But the real story, the burden of that score, it falls entirely on the Raptors. Holding any competitive team to 39 points is unusual. But to hold a champion-level offense to 39 points in a full 40-minute game it's virtually unheard of.
And the sources are so emphatic on this point. They really stress the gravity of those 39 points. It's explicitly called a season low for the Raptors. And their performance is described as completely out of character for an offense that up until that point was seen as explosive.
That context is just so critical because it forces us to dismiss the easy assumption that this was just a random bad shooting night.
Right, it's more than that.
It's so much more. An explosive offense, it's built on pace, on ball movement, quick decisions, transition scoring, all things designed to get you easy points. For that entire system to produce only 39 points, it means college didn't just play good defense. They applied a perfect counter tactic that just neutralized the Raptors' entire strategy.
I have to push back just a little bit here, though. Is it possible that the pressure, the bright lights of the championship, just caused an elite team to choke?
That's fair.
Sometimes shots just don't fall, right? Regardless of the defense.
It's a fair challenge, and it's something you always have to consider, but the evidence we have in the source material, it really points away from that. If the Raptors were just choking, what would you expect to see?
Missed open shots, maybe clanking free throws.
Exactly. Unforced, lazy turnovers, things like that. Instead, all the analysis points toward a systematic suppression. Choking is, it's an internal failure. This felt external. It felt like a calculated neutralization.
So you're saying college forced the issue?
Completely. When an explosive offense is held to 39, it means two things happen. One, they were denied any easy transition points. And two, they were denied clean looks in their half-court sets. They were made uncomfortable on every single possession.
So if they were systematically suppressed, that means college didn't just stop them. They broke the foundation of their offense. How does that show up in the stats beyond just that final score?
It all comes down to shot quality and volume. I mean, when you really analyze what it takes to hold a championship offense to 39 points, you realize college choked off the supply lines.
What do you mean by that?
Well, they use specific defensive mechanisms, and we'll get into the details of these in a bit, but things to prevent easy entry passes, to deny the quick screens, and to force the Raptors to operate late in the shot clock.
Okay, so it's process-oriented.
It's all about process. It forced them into shots from, deep or really uncomfortable positions on the floor. And that's what shifts the narrative from, oh, college won, to college fundamentally broke the Raptors' offensive structure. It forced desperation instead of execution.
And that really connects to the old saying, right? Defense wins championships. You can't always rely on just outscoring your opponent when the pressure is highest. You have to be able to lock them down.
Precisely. Now, let's dig into the defining statistical proof of this defensive masterpiece. The source describes college as having controlled every inch of the floor.
It's a strong statement.
It's not hyperbole. It implies they dominated both the paint and the perimeter. It suggests a flawless execution of, spatial defense and rotational efficiency. They were always a step ahead, sealing off the critical scoring zones before the Raptors could even get there.
Controlled every inch. That sounds so active. It's not passive reactive defense. They were dictating where the Raptors could not go.
Exactly. They were forcing them into these predefined, low-leverage scoring zones. And this tactical mastery, it gives us the ultimate proof in one number.
Which is?
College limited the Raptors to a frigid 15 for 51 shooting. That's just 29.4%. That sub-30% field goal percentage is the final, undeniable validation of everything they did.
Let's just sit with that for a second. 29.4%. On 51 attempts, that means 36 missed shots.
36.
That is a colossal number of failed possessions. If you think about it, say an average of 15 seconds of possession. That's 9 full minutes of game clock, where college just successfully defended a shot attempt.
And that number, that 29.4%, it is the single most important number in this entire deep dive. To hold an explosive champion-level team below 30% from the field it's extraordinary.
It tells you that the Raptors weren't just taking tough shots occasionally.
No, they were taking them all night long. It means that every single shot was fundamentally challenged, whether it was through a perfect closeout on the perimeter, active high hands in the paint, or just a physical deterrent right at the rim.
So it really eliminates any doubt. This wasn't a fluke. This wasn't a team just going cold. This was engineered. That percentage is the repeatable evidence that the game plan worked exactly as it was drawn up.
Yeah, it leaves no room for debate about that defensive masterpiece label. It was earned.
Okay, so that 29.4%, that establishes the result. Now we have to get into the how. Section 2, this is where we break down the twin engines of college's defense, pressure and possession control.
Right, because these aren't just buzzwords. They're specific mechanisms college used to generate chaos.
So let's start with pressure. How did that manifest?
Well, pressure is what starts a great defensive possession, and possession control is what finishes it. The source material details the tangible results of college's pressure. They forced 10 turnovers and produced a remarkable 7 steals.
7 steals. In a championship game where, every possession is usually guarded so closely, that's immense.
It is. And in a low-scoring game like this, every single one of those steals is magnified. It's 7 completely denied scoring chances for the Raptors and 7 immediate high-leverage transition opportunities for college.
And what's fascinating is what those steals tell you about the nature of the pressure.
Exactly. Steals aren't usually luck. They're evidence of defenders anticipating passing lanes or timing a double team perfectly. It tells me college wasn't just reacting to the pass. They were often there before the pass was even thrown.
And this leads right into the most damning stat about the Raptors' offense, their assist total. They only managed 9 assists for the entire game.
9.
Meanwhile, college forced 10 turnovers.
And that differential, 10 turnovers versus only 9 assists, that's the statistical obituary for the defending champs offense. It means they literally lost more possessions to mistakes than they created through successful coordinated plays.
That is the clearest sign that their offense was just stagnant, completely broken. But tell me more specifically, what kind of pressure leads to such a low assist total? That tells me they were disrupting the ball handler before they could even get the offense started. Was this a full-court press or more of a half-court trap system?
Given the final score, 57 points, it points more toward a highly targeted half-court pressure. A full-court press is a gamble. It can lead to easy baskets if you break it.
Right, and they weren't giving up easy baskets.
Not at all. So we can deduce they were using specific tactics, like maybe icy defense on side ball screens, to funnel ball handlers toward the baseline, away from the middle of the floor. Or maybe constantly denying the easy entry pass into the high post.
So every time the Raptors tried to run a set play,
The first option, that primary passing lane, was instantly choked off. That forces the ball handler to improvise to reset the offense late in the clock, and that directly cripples your ability to create rhythm and find open teammates for assists.
so the 7 steals confirmed the perimeter players were hyper alert, and the 9 assists confirmed the systemic breakdown of their ball movement. It was chaos basketball, and College was the one orchestrating it.
Now, let's get into the descriptive tactical terms the source uses. It mentions relentless closeouts and a disciplined interior presence.
Okay, a lot of our listeners will know what a closeout is, but let's talk about the nuance of how College did it.
Exactly. It's not just about running at a shooter. The word relentless means you're covering a ton of ground. The risk there is you fly by the shooter, give them an open lane.
Right. So how did College make sure that relentless energy translated into actual contested shots instead of just fouls or blow-bys?
This is where the coaching and the discipline just shines through. Their closeouts weren't just about speed. They were executed with perfect footwork. Short, choppy steps right before you get to the shooter to stay balanced.
Maintaining a low center of gravity.
Right, and finishing with high hands to contest the shooter's line of sight and their release point. They were denying them the ability to comfortably set their feet. This is why the Raptors' shooting percentage just plummeted, even on shots that might have looked okay from a distance.
But the ultimate test of that discipline is what happens on the inside. We know College had an aggressive interior presence, but usually aggressive interior D leads to a lot of fouls.
And that's the brilliant contradiction they mastered. Despite this aggressive interior play, the Raptors only managed 10 free throw attempts for the entire game.
Only 10.
10 attempts. They made 6 of them for 60%. But only 10 attempts is alarmingly low for a championship team.
It suggests one of two things. Either they just couldn't penetrate the defense at all, or when they did, College defended the drive with, pristine verticality.
I lean heavily toward verticality and calculated deterrence. That interior presence wasn't about reckless fouling. It was calculated physicality.
Yeah.
It was designed to challenge the shot after the driver had already committed to going up.
Teaching them a lesson.
They were teaching the Raptors that a drive meant taking a difficult, contested shot over length, not getting an easy foul call. They used their bodies to deny post position and went straight up with their hands to avoid that cheap swipe.
And that discipline, holding an aggressive team to just 10 free throw attempts, is so crucial in a low-scoring game. Every single point is precious. You can't afford to give them freebies when your own offense is having to grind for every basket.
And that's where it all comes together. The relentless closeouts outside, the disciplined verticality inside. It all forced the Raptors into that one-on-one contested basketball that led directly to that 29.4% shooting. The defense prevented ball movement, and it turned their offense from a system into just a series of desperate isolations.
So we've established that College engineered one of the most stifling defensive performances you'll ever see. But, defense only sets the stage. You still have to score enough to win.
Right. The defense gives you the opportunity.
So the real question becomes, how did they manage to find enough offense themselves when points were so incredibly scarce?
In a grinder game like that, a game decided by physical defense, you need an offensive formula that's built on 2 things: efficiency and maximizing your possessions. College had to guarantee that for every 2 possessions the Raptors wasted, they converted at least 1.
Okay, let's start with their efficiency. College shot 23 for 51 from the field. That's 45.1%.
Yep.
And when you put that right next to the Raptors' 29.4%, that almost 16-point difference in shooting percentage, that's where the championship was won.
That 45.1% is the engine of the entire offensive victory. Now, 45% might sound just moderate in a game where teams are scoring 90 or 100 points.
Sure.
But in this context, in this defensive battle, it is absolutely dominant. It tells us that College was patient, they took high percentage shots, and crucially, they converted them against a defense that was getting more and more frustrated and demoralized.
So they valued every possession.
They valued every possession like gold. Their mission wasn't volume scoring, it was high-value conversion.
And their reliability from the free throw line, that gave them that crucial separation. College hit 7 of their 10 free throws, which is 70%.
And that 70% is pure gold in a game where offense is a struggle. Just think about it. The Raptors were held to 6 for 10 from the line, just 60%. Those 4 missed free throws by the Raptors are incredibly high leverage failures.
Yeah, every one of those is a killer.
And college, by being consistent at 70%, took full advantage. Those simple high-value points become exponentially more important in a low-scoring final, where, a single point can fundamentally shift the psychology of the final 5 minutes.
Okay, now we have to shift to the area that guaranteed college had the possession advantage in the first place.
Yeah.
Rebounding.
Yes.
In a defensive game where we know 36 shots were missed by the Raptors, winning the battle on the glass is paramount to controlling the pace and the shot differential.
Absolutely paramount. College crashed the glass and won the total rebounding battle 36-28. That difference of 8 rebounds, that's 8 additional defensive stops completed for college or 8 extra offensive chances created. It's a massive swing.
Let's talk about the strategy behind those 8 rebounds. Every time the Raptors missed, college had to secure that defensive board just to complete the stop. The Raptors missed 36 shots, so college had to be nearly flawless in finishing those possessions.
They had to make sure those missed shots stayed missed. But where rebounding truly shifts the momentum, where it becomes a weapon, is on the offensive end. The offensive rebounding split was college 9, Raptors 8.
Okay, this is a detail that people often overlook, but it's like a subtle knockout blow. 9 offensive boards. That means college created 9 completely new scoring chances for themselves.
Right.
9 bonus possessions that the Raptors thought they had successfully defended.
And the psychological impact of that is just crushing. Imagine you're on the Raptors, you play 24 seconds of perfect, disciplined defense, you force a highly contested shot, the exact shot you wanted them to take, and then a college player just swoops in and snatches the ball back for a second chance.
It's deflating.
It's more than deflating. It doesn't just create points. It forces your defense, which was about to get out and run on a fast break, to immediately turn around and get back into a punishing half-court set. It neutralizes any transition advantage you hope to gain.
So those 9 offensive rebounds directly contribute to controlling the tempo of the game. College is basically dictating, you will defend us in the half court for 40 minutes, whether you like it or not.
And furthermore, when they got those offensive boards, they were able to reset, maybe kick the ball out and find a better, higher percentage look before the scrambling defense could get set again. This contributes directly to that impressive 45.1% field goal efficiency.
It's all connected.
It's all one big loop. They dominated the glass, which gave them more cracks the basket, and it limited the Raptors to single-shot possessions. It maximized the impact of their stifling defense and made sure their offense was efficient enough to win.
So a great blueprint is one thing, but you need the individual players to step up and execute that plan, especially under championship pressure.
Absolutely.
The source material highlights several standouts for college, and we need to analyze how their individual stats connect directly back to the strategies we've identified, that pressure, that efficiency, and the rebounding. Let's start with Armin Brown, who they call the two-way tone setter.
Brown's performance is, it's the model of championship leadership in a defensive slugfest. He had 19 points on 8 of 18 shooting, 9 rebounds, 3 assists, and 1 steal. It's just a complete all-around performance.
Let's analyze that volume. 18 shots. In a game where college as a team only took 51 shots, Brown took over a third of their attempts.
Yeah.
That tells me he's the designated go-to guy, the player the coaching staff trusted to create offense when the defense was at its toughest.
And the fact that he hit 8 of those 18, maintaining over 44% efficiency on that high volume, shows his ability to hit contested, high-leverage shots. We can probably deduce that a lot of his scoring came late in the shot clock, after the initial options were gone.
Forcing him to create something out of nothing.
Exactly. Probably on post-ups or mid-range isolations that exploited whatever small gaps the Raptors defense gave him.
And that phrase, setting the tone on both ends, is completely validated by his 9 rebounds. He was 1 rebound shy of a double-double. He dominated the glass while also carrying the scoring load. He embodied that entire winning formula.
He was the anchor. If you're taking 18 shots, you're facing the other team's best defender all night long, and yet he still managed to lead his team in rebounding. That kind of dual responsibility, it just demands supreme focus and physical toughness. He absolutely was the tone setter.
Okay, next up, John Genus. He's described as having mid-range lethality. He delivered 18 points at a remarkably efficient 7 for 15 shooting.
So if Brown was the anchor demanding all the attention, Giannis was the surgeon who was exploiting the space that created. His high efficiency, over 46%, suggests he was finding those critical seams in the Raptors' interior defense.
and hitting contested jumpers from 15 feet.
It's so demoralizing for a defense because it directly counters their strategy of packing the paint and just closing out hard on the three-point line. He was attacking that soft spot in the middle.
But Giannis was also deeply involved on the other end. He had 4 rebounds, 1 assist, and 2 steals.
And those 2 steals, again, that's direct, repeatable evidence that Giannis was integral to that aggressive perimeter defense that forced all those turnovers. He wasn't just a scorer waiting for the ball. He was active. He was anticipating passing lanes, applying ball pressure.
So his combination of mid-range scoring and defensive disruption makes him the tactical embodiment of what college was doing.
100%. His 18 points were vital, but his defensive activity is what helped ensure their offense had enough possessions to be lethal in the first place.
All right, now we get to the unsung heroes, the glue guys, the defensive specialists who really made that possession battle so lopsided. Let's talk about Chase Carstensen. He finished with 8 rebounds, 2 steals, and only 2 points.
Carstensen is the ultimate tactical specialist. His entire stat line is skewed towards possession control. 8 rebounds tying Brown for the team high means he was doing the dirty work, boxing out, and making sure every defensive stop was completed.
And his 2 steals weren't about creating scoring chances for himself.
No, they were momentum killers. He was that selfless operator, making sure the defensive game plan worked perfectly, even if the ball rarely came his way on offense.
And then there's Chester Camilla, also provided vital support, 5 rebounds and a clutch steal.
The fact that the source uses the word clutch there suggests that single steal came at a really high leverage moment, maybe late in the second half when the Raptors were trying to mount that inevitable run.
Right.
A clutch steal in that spot, it doesn't just generate a turnover, it psychologically deflates the opposition's comeback hopes. And his 5 boards just further prove that college's dominance on the glass was a total team effort.
Okay, moving to the supporting cast, because every championship team needs that deep, efficient support. Chuck Camilla, he chipped in with 5 points and 1 assist.
And those 5 points might have been a crucial three-pointer that stretched the lead, or maybe a high value and 1 opportunity. They represent that depth that prevents a defense from just completely collapsing on Brown and Giannis.
And Jeffrey Tiki, he provided this beautifully balanced contribution. 2 points, 2 assists, 2 rebounds.
Tiki's line just shows incredibly smart, selfless play. 2 assists means he was involved in setting up successful scoring plays, and his ability to contribute evenly across the board scoring, facilitating, rebounding, that's the mark of a player who totally understands the team's mission of efficiency.
Finally, Nico J. He grabbed 5 rebounds and, importantly, knocked down his 2 free throws.
And Nico J's stat line links perfectly back to what we were talking about in Section 3. Those 2 made free throws were part of college's clutch 70% shooting from the line. It confirms that even the bench players, when they got a high-value opportunity, they maintained their composure and converted.
So when you combine it all,
When you combine Brown's high-volume scoring with the defensive intensity and rebounding from guys like Carstensen, Camilla, and Jay, you see a roster that was perfectly tailored from top to bottom to execute this defensive knockout strategy and maximize every single possession.
we have to now shift our focus to the other side of this. The dethroned champions. College's masterpiece had a very clear victim. Raptors 2.0. The source material details how college's defense specifically exploited their weaknesses, which led to a complete systemic failure.
What's so fascinating about this part of the analysis is that we're looking at the consequences of a perfect game plan. The Raptors didn't just have an off night. They experienced a complete and total collapse of their offensive identity.
And we have to reiterate those damning metrics because they really do tell the whole story.
We do. 29.4% shooting from the field and only 9 total assists.
So if an explosive offense is defined by transition scoring, spacing, and high assist ball movement, the Raptors failed on every single one of those metrics.
Completely. 9 assists means the ball just stopped moving. The 29.4% shooting means that when the inevitable isolation plays happened, the resulting shot was contested and rushed.
It's like a cascading failure.
That's the perfect term for it. The initial pressure led to late clock situations. The late clock situations led to predictable one-on-one drives. The disciplined interior presence countered those drives, and the relentless closeouts made sure there was no relief from the perimeter,
leaving them with no good options.
The only option left was low-percentage improvisation. They failed to create, and they failed to finish. Period.
The source material really captures the painful reality of it, calling this an off night at the worst time. The pressure of a championship final, it clearly magnified every single missed opportunity, every defensive trap that college set.
And the psychological component here is arguably just as important as the statistical one. Great defense kills momentum.
Yeah.
Every forced turnover, every time college secured a rebound after a contested miss, it just ratcheted up the pressure on the Raptors.
Yeah.
And when you're a champion team, you're used to scoring at will. Suddenly being denied easy points, it feels like you're running into a brick wall over and over. And that psychological burden, it leads to quick, desperate shots, which just further fuels that 29.4% number.
Let's look at the efforts of their statistical leaders, just to understand the limitations that college imposed on them. Pat Hidalgo led the team with 12 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, and a block.
And while Hidalgo technically led his team in scoring, the fact that 12 points was the high mark in a title game, that just confirms they were completely neutralized. For a star player, you'd expect to get high teens, low 20s. That output shows he was totally suppressed.
He still tried to make plays with 3 assists.
He did. But those few assists couldn't generate enough momentum to overcome the systemic breakdown of the entire offense. College's defense was focused on making sure the system failed, even if the Stars still managed to put up some nominal stats.
Joseph Kelly-Wang, on the other hand, showed incredible defensive effort on their side. He had 8 points, 7 rebounds, and an impressive 3 steals.
Kelly-Wang's 3 steals are a really fascinating insight. It shows he was fighting desperately to generate possessions for the Raptors by turning his defense into offense. He was trying to inject that pace that their game so desperately needed.
He was battling.
He was battling hard on the glass with 7 rebounds, but his individual efforts just couldn't overcome the offensive paralysis across the rest of the roster. It was like he was putting out small fires while the entire building was burning down around him.
D. Will added 6 points, 5 boards, and 3 assists. And Brian Gonzalez was strong on the glass with 8 rebounds and 5 points.
These stats show individual effort, for sure. Gonzalez's 8 rebounds, matching the top guys on college, proves the Raptors were still competitive on the glass. They were getting the ball.
Right.
But the fundamental flaw was their inability to convert those possessions into points. When your secondary contributors are only putting up 5, 6, 8 points, you just lack the scoring depth you need to win a championship, no matter how hard you hustle on the boards.
And the most painful indicator of just how widespread this paralysis was comes from the rest of their roster. Alvin Feliciano and Jordan Tapala, who were critical rotation players, they combined for only 8 points.
That output is just devastating. It's devastating for morale. It's devastating for your tactical flexibility. It means the guys coming off the bench who were supposed to provide a spark were completely silenced because college's defensive strategy was so pervasive.
They didn't just shut down the stars.
They didn't just shut down the primary weapons.
Yeah.
They eliminated the secondary and tertiary scoring options too. They offered the Raptors absolutely no relief valve. And when you can isolate and suppress an entire offensive system like that, holding the champs to 39 points becomes the statistical inevitability of a strategy that was executed to perfection. It was, quite simply, a statistical strangulation.
So this deep dive has absolutely confirmed that Team College didn't just luck into a championship. They engineered a tactical victory against a historically explosive opponent. We started with the phrase stunning knockout, and I think we've really found the repeatable blueprint behind it.
To synthesize the championship formula for you, the learner, it's this. Team College's victory was secured by prioritizing defense above absolutely everything else. They systematically forced low percentage shooting, that 29.4%, and generated high turnovers through those relentless closeouts and disciplined interior D.
And then they capitalized.
They capitalized. They maximized their own limited possessions with superior rebounding, winning that battle 36-28, and they provided just enough efficient offense, shooting 45%, 70% from the line, driven by their two-way standouts, to make the Raptors pay for every single mistake.
Holding a champion-caliber offense to under 40 points in a title game, that's not just a win. That is historic proof that disciplined defense and possession control can absolutely neutralize elite scoring talent on the biggest stage.
And College is confirmed as the B.A.L.L. Season 1 champs, earning that title through defensive rigor and total team discipline.
This whole thing forces us to consider a bigger lesson, though. If an explosive offense gets held to a season-low 39 points in the biggest moment of the year, does that mean the defensive game plan was perfect? That it's endlessly repeatable?
Or does the immense pressure of a championship inevitably cause even highly skilled players to choke, which, in turn, makes College's job that much easier?
It really encourages you to think about that interplay between elite execution on one side and opponent failure on the other. You know, if College's 7 steals were the direct result of their film study and anticipation, then yes, it's a repeatable masterpiece.
But if those steals only happened because the Raptors were already rushing and desperate and making bad decisions, does that slightly diminish the tactical genius of it all?
It's that question of cause versus effect that will keep us analyzing this box score for years to come.
The answer is probably somewhere in the middle, as it usually is. But the outcome? That is undeniable. A stunning victory secured by a flawless defensive blueprint.
A phenomenal breakdown. Thank you for joining us for the deep dive. We'll see you next time.